Vargha Moayed è il Chief Strategy Officer di UiPath, azienda leader nella RPA, Robotic Process Automation. Nel suo ruolo, Moayed lavora a stretto contatto con il fondatore e CEO di UiPath, Daniel Dines, e i board of director di società partners e clienti a livello globale. Durante la sua carriera, Moayed è stato consulente di compagnie multinazionali come Ernst & Young e McKinsey. Ha cofondato una software company e un incubatore high-tech con Goldman Sachs ed è stato vicepresidente di First Data.
Good afternoon and good evening to everyone, and thank you for watching. We have the pleasure of having with us Vargha Moayed, which is the Chief Strategy Officer of UiPath. Welcome, Vargha, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Alessandro. It's a pleasure.
Vargha, car dealership has a traditional operating model, very traditional. And nowadays they are facing quite a challenging transition phase. We were wondering, and we wanted to know your opinion about how and which is the role of software technology in helping such kind of companies in facing these troubled times.
Sure, I think one of, not that I pretend to be very familiar with the car industry and the dealership, but from what I understand, car dealers, they can be actually substantially large corporation as well as mid-sized corporations. And from what I understood also, they do have, technologically speaking, when it comes to their back office and perhaps even front office processes, all the support function, relatively old stack technology that they have inherited. And they are confronted, and in this case, I don't think car dealerships are different from any other industry, with a very fast changing world where customer expectations in terms of the services they receive has been risen up by digitally native companies. What I'm trying to say by that, I'll give you an example. Myself, during this 2 years that I stopped working and I was trying to do something else, I had an online flower show. And it was very interesting because clients would call us, they would say, where is the delivery man? And we would say, well, he left half an hour ago, he should be there. But he says, can't I see him where he is? And you see that their expectation had been risen because they were used to Uber, where they could see their little car moving around. So they were expecting us to show the little delivery man with his flower moving around. So the point I'm trying to say is that client expectations are constantly rising. And when you're a traditional company settled with legacy system, sometimes it's not so easy to do that change. And often to be able to offer this type of services, you still need to go and get the data or the information from an installed legacy system, which, by the way, for what it does, it still does it okay. So now you're confronted between, should I just scratch everything and build something from scratch? And by the time I build something from scratch, again, the customer expectation would have again moved forwards. I'm always running after customer expectation. Or should I find a set of technologies that allow me the best of both worlds, i.e. that I can quickly come up with ways of working for my back office people, as well as for my customers, that is faster and more agile. By the way, when you automate back office, you ultimately deliver a better front office or customer experience, i.e. between the time that I call, that I receive my invoice, because things are automated. A lot of time is lost and make processes too long and customer unfriendly because the people that have to provide the information have to log into multiple disparate legacy systems and literally themselves being the robots, taking the information from one place, put it in another place, taking it from a third place, aggregating it together, creating a document, emailing or sending the document. All of these things can be automated while not necessarily requiring you to rip out the legacy systems that you had.
Thank you for your answer. Listen, in order to be successful, it's often said that companies should focus 20% on technology and 80% on processes. Would you agree on that?
First of all, I would have loved to see the person who was able to make that so precise, 20%, 80%. I would be very curious to know the methodology behind that. Leaving that apart, I get the fundamental idea. In a way, yes and no. Let me explain. I come from actually a consulting background, and it was in a previous life my job indeed to help my clients rethink, do what we call process reengineering, etc. And it was also said in the early days, another idea, that there is no point of automating a broken process, which I understand also. But in fact, with RPA, which is a technology we at UiPath have created and using, we have a little bit brought a nuance to this concept. Because what does RPA do? It mimics what the humans are doing the way they work. Now, in an ideal world, you can indeed take the opportunity while you're trying to automate a process to also rethink it. But here's the good news. With RPA, you don't necessarily need to. What I'm trying to say by that, a broken process, why is it broken? Because it's error prone, too long, and it's annoying to people who are doing it. But the good news is a robot never gets annoyed, doesn't make error, and it goes very fast. Actually, the paradox is, while it is still better to indeed do process reengineering, you can actually very efficiently automate a subpar process and get fantastic results.
Listen, you have introduced to the concept of RPA, and your company, the company you represent, holds a strong leadership in the RPA technology, and also other technology that, for example, Gartner defines as hyperautomation. But if I think to maybe some of my former colleagues when I was working in a dealership, which have been doing the same job in the same way and operating the same task for like 20 years or 30 years. Shall he or she be scared of being replaced by a robot?
Well, that's a good question. The honest answer is it depends. I hope that the vast majority of people will not be worried to be replaced by robot. The vast majority of people were very happy to actually acquire a dishwasher. And they were very happy that somebody else was doing the dishes instead of themselves, and it will give them some time to either talk to their loved ones or to watch TV or whatever else they like to do. So technology, in fact, what it does, it gives you time back. And it gives usually time back for you to do things that are more value added for the organization and also more enriching for yourself. So, in fact, it's not just me saying so. There is a survey that was done by Forrester where they interviewed extensively people who are using RPA and asked them what is their opinion. And I think, if I recall correctly, 67% of respondents were actually very happy to be using RPA. Because what RPA does, as the saying says, it takes the robot out of you. Most of us as human beings do not enjoy to do repetitive tasks and would rather have these pesky repetitive tasks, opening a thing, copying some things, an email being done by somebody else. And I did say most of us. It seems that there is a small category of people that actually enjoy doing these kind of things. But I think these days we're all confronted with a shortage of talent. So we do, first of all, and then the new generation, the millennials, if their parents were out of the few who enjoy doing these things, they definitely do not enjoy doing repetitive tasks. So if you're also confronted with a shortage of talent, you want to liberate your current talent from the 30% or 40% of the time that they spend doing tasks that can be automated to actually being able to do more value-added tasks. If they're in the back office, providing you with analysis of your sales or whatever, if they're in the front office, spending more time trying to sell the car and enchant the customer rather than being in front of a computer and entering useless data that can be automated.
Great answer, thank you. I will use it back in the next meeting when talking about RPA. Last question for you. When facing digital and business transformation, maybe, companies find out that resistance to change is maybe one of the most controversial issues. So they found resistance in their manager or in the process owner, for example. Which kind of advice would you give to CEO, entrepreneurs, or business transformation leader whose role is to introduce and make RPA and other technology performing at the most in their company when facing this kind of cultural, let's say, issue?
You know, Alessandro, resistance to change comes from the fear of the unknown. We as human beings, we hate unknown. So when there is a new technology, we start imagining things. We are afraid of what we don't know. That's a normal, I don't know if it's normal, but it's a common human reaction. So my advice is the sooner you can implement what we call in our case attended automation, which is a personal robot for everyone, the sooner they will see, again, back to the survey, 66% of people who have tried it loved it, that there is nothing to fear, that is actually making their life more pleasant, their work more meaningful. So one of the things we do often when we automate, we do things that are not directly related to people. We automate back office, things that people don't see. So when they don't see, they fear. So that's why always we say in automation programs, in addition of doing these long processes that are totally, we have two types of robots, what we call unattended, robots that work on their own, if you will. But we also have robots that are like digital personal assistant to people. So we tell them also provide this digital personal assistant to people, which is people themselves that triggered when they want to use it. And then it takes the fear away. They see how this is bringing something to them personally, something that they personally control. And usually the organization that approaches it, this dual approach, they have much less problem with the resistance to change. Don't talk about something for too long in advance before immediately showing the benefit to people. The shorter the time between the moment that you talk about it and that they can actually try it themselves, the less likelihood to create anxiety and resistance to change.
Well, thank you, Varga. I wish we had more time, but we're running out. So I want to thank you once again for your inspiring word, and I hope maybe soon to meet you in person.
Thank you so much, Alessandro, and best of luck for the rest of your program.
Thank you.